Hello everyone, my name is Fons Jacobs and welcome back to another episode on the Band of Insiders podcast. Today is time for another feature episode. For the people that are tuning in for the first time, feature episodes are very much focused on specific technologies, new innovations, or very big news that we want to dissect with you all to make sure that everybody understands the impact of what's happening in the world. And I have to say, I am interested in a wide variety of things, not just technology, but also within the technological spectrum and innovation space. I like a lot, basically everything. So although a lot of my conversations and podcasts and articles are about technologies like AI, which of course is the hottest topic in the world right now, it's not every week about that. And today I want to talk to you guys about one of the, if not the coolest company on the planet. And I think it's worth it. It's going to be slightly different than previous feature episode. But like I said, I think it's probably one of the coolest companies in the world. So it's worth checking them out. And although this company provides a lot of awesome visual material, I would highly suggest to go look at the article version of this feature podcast, which you can find on my website, www.fonsjacobs.com. But I'll stop teasing you there. Without further ado, let's jump in and hope you enjoy it. So today we're going to talk about the flight that brought us one step closer to Mars. Yes, you heard that correctly. I am absolutely amazed and super intrigued by anything that has to do with space and the universe. It's so massive, so mysterious, it makes me feel small in a very good way. Some of my favorite shows and movies are about space, new planets, and expanding humanity to new universes. My favorite movie of all time is probably Interstellar. I have listened to hours and hours of podcasts explaining to me the Dune universe after I loved the movies that have came out, both 1 and 2, and I cannot wait for the third one. And I'm currently loving the absolutely beautifully made show called Foundation on Apple TV+. I already shared once my fascination with black holes and quantum physics with you all, but no worries, today's podcast won't be a physics lesson. What will it be about is the incredible things that the team at SpaceX is accomplishing for years now. The reason I want to talk about it today is because one of their most recent test flights of their so-called Starship, which marked test flight number 11. Another incredible milestone for the team at SpaceX. So it's a great reason to dive in a bit deeper into how SpaceX came about, what it is determined to do, and how it's been doing so far. So let's start at the beginning. The birth of SpaceX, a rocket company born out of frustration. SpaceX didn't start because Elon Musk wanted to become a billionaire with rockets. It started because he was frustrated that humanity has stopped dreaming big. In the early 2000s, space exploration was not really going anywhere new. NASA had retired the Apollo missions, and sending anything into orbit still cost tens of thousands of dollars per kilogram. Musk, who was about to sell PayPal, wanted to reignite public interest in space. His first idea wasn't to start a rocket company at all, but to send a small greenhouse to Mars, a mission called Mars Oasis. The plan was to grow the first plants on another planet to inspire humanity to look outward again. It will be the furthest life had ever traveled. Again, another inspiring moment similar to the first moon landing. To make that happen, Musk teamed up with a small group of early collaborators. Aerospace engineer Tom Mueller, operations expert Chris Thompson, and former NASA engineer Jim Cantrell, who helped Musk navigate the Russian space industry. Together, they flew to Moscow to buy decommissioned intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs in short, to use them as a cheap launch vehicle, as the goal was for the mission to cost between 15 and 20 million US dollars. That is about 1/10 of what a small NASA mission would cost. So, a big challenge for the team from the start. And the trip didn't go as planned. The Russians quoted astronomical prices, reportedly around $8 million per rocket, and laughed at Musk's vision. At one meeting, Musk offered $8 million for 2 rockets instead of 1. a deliberately absurd counteroffer that ended the talks on the spot. On the flight home, surrounded by spreadsheets and back-of-the-napkin calculations, Musk had his realization. If rockets are so expensive because no one's trying to make them reusable, why don't we just build our own? I cannot find the exact quote again, but in one of Musk's biographies, one of his fellow travelers shared how he was in awe that Musk, who didn't sleep on the flight back, showed them initial plans on how to build their own rocket much cheaper before they even landed. Another insane example of the relentless work ethic and mind of Elon Musk. That is the moment that SpaceX was born. At least in Elon Musk's brain. In 2002, Musk and his small founding team started Space Exploration Technologies Corp., aka SpaceX, in a modest warehouse in El Segundo, California. Their goal was clear from day one: to make life multi-planetary. But why? Because it's important for survival of humanity itself. Musk believed that if humanity remained confined to a single planet, it was one asteroid, one war, or a rogue AI or climate catastrophe away from extinction. But if we could build a self-sustaining colony on another world, another planet, humanity would have an actual backup plan for civilization itself. To make that vision real, SpaceX needed to solve the main problem: the cost of access to space. At the time, launching a single kilogram into orbit cost roughly $60,000. Musk wanted to bring that down to $50. The only way to get there? Reusability. Rockets that could launch, land, and fly again, just like airplanes. So, every explosion since then has been a step forward to that goal. What started in a small warehouse in El Segundo has turned into the most successful private aerospace company in history, and arguably the one keeping humanity's space ambitions alive. From the beginning, SpaceX's strategy was to build everything in-house, iterate fast, and never stop testing. That mindset, borrowed from Silicon Valley rather than NASA, became the backbone of its culture and success. Over the past 2 decades, the company has achieved a series of milestones that completely reshaped the industry. Let me name and explain the most important ones. The first big breakthrough was in 2008 when Falcon 1 reached actual orbit. After 3 failed attempts, which means exploding rockets, and near bankruptcy, Falcon 1 became the first privately developed liquid-fueled rocket to reach orbit. It proved that SpaceX could actually build rockets that worked, and this fact saved the company. The next big milestones happened between 2010 and 2012. The Falcon 9, a larger modular rocket designed for rapid reusability, which is the key to lowering costs. In 2010, SpaceX became the first private company to launch a spacecraft, aka Dragon, and safely return it to Earth. In 2012, it made history again when Dragon became the first commercial spacecraft to dock with the International Space Station, which then unlocked its first partnership with NASA. Now it becomes absolutely fascinating. 2015 to 2017. After years of big failures, SpaceX finally landed a Falcon 9 booster upright on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. A big milestone that changed spaceflight forever. For the first time in history, rockets weren't single-use anymore. By 2017, they had reflown a booster, proven the reusability concept actually worked, and from there they were off to the races. Then 2019, they launched Starlink, turning the sky into an actual business model. Launching rockets is expensive, and SpaceX needed a steady revenue stream to fund its Mars ambitions. The answer? Starlink, a collection of thousands of low-orbit satellites providing global internet coverage. Today, Starlink funds much of SpaceX's R&D, generating billions in annual revenue while expanding internet access across remote regions of Earth. Then 2020, with Crew Dragon Demo 2, SpaceX became the first private company to send astronauts into orbit from US soil since the Space Shuttle program ended in 2011. For the first time in nearly a decade, America no longer dependent on Russia to reach the ISS. Then, 2021 until present. SpaceX's next chapter revolves around Starship, the most powerful rocket ever built, designed for full reusability and interplanetary travel. Starship will carry cargo, satellites, and eventually people. First to the moon under NASA's Artemis program, then to Mars. Every test flight is part of refining the architecture that will one day make leaving Earth as routine as flying across it. Now we have a better understanding of the major SpaceX milestones. Let's look at the biggest challenge they face when starting: reusability. Until SpaceX, every rocket in history was designed to be destroyed. A launch meant millions of dollars of hardware burning up in the atmosphere or sinking into the ocean. Imagine if every time you flew somewhere, the airline threw away the airplane after landing. That's how spaceflight worked for decades. Starting with the Falcon 9, SpaceX pioneered the idea of rockets that could land upright and be flown again. After years of trial, error, and literal explosions, they nailed it in 2016. That moment marked the beginning of rapid reusability, the single innovation that made reaching orbit exponentially cheaper. Instead of building a new $60 million rocket for every flight, SpaceX could now reuse one dozens of times with minor refurbishments. Since then, some boosters have flown over 20 times already, each time cutting costs further and proving that spaceflight could be treated like aviation, not like fireworks. But SpaceX didn't stop there. The next evolution came with Starship and its super heavy booster, designed not only to land but to be caught mid-air. At the company's Starbase facility in Texas, they built a colossal launch and catch tower nicknamed Mechazilla. It uses two giant mechanical arms, or chopsticks as Musk likes to call them, to grab the rocket as it descends, saving time, hardware, and fuel. The goal is to turn rocket launches into 24-hour cycles, meaning launch, land, refuel, and relaunch. This is also one of the reasons why I wanted to record this podcast this week. I don't think a lot of people understand how insane this is. Catching this rocket, which is basically a full-blown skyscraper with these chopsticks. I mean, once you look at it, it is insane. And while each of these milestones reshaped spaceflight, one innovation stands above all: the idea that rockets shouldn't be single-use. Now, let's dive deeper into Starship. Starship isn't just reusable, it's absolutely massive. Fully stacked, meaning the Starship plus the super heavy booster system, stands 120 meters tall, roughly 30% taller than the Statue of Liberty and 60 feet shorter than the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's also the most powerful rocket ever built, capable of generating over 16.7 million pounds of thrust, nearly double NASA's Saturn V that sent humans to the moon. Starship is designed to carry up to 150 tons of cargo or crew into orbit, or even further when refueled in space. Its outer shell is made of cold-rolled stainless steel, the same material used on Tesla's Cybertruck. They polished it to reflect heat, like a mirror. The heat shield underneath consists of 18,000 individual ceramic tiles, each one baked in SpaceX's own Starbase bakery, engineered to survive re-entry temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun. Again, something that was invented by the SpaceX team. This wasn't possible before. Now let's talk about the reason why I wanted to write this article now, and that is the latest test flight called Starship Test Flight 11. On Monday, October 13, 2025, SpaceX launched Starship's 11th integrated flight test from its Starbase facility in Texas. This was the final flight of the second-generation Starship and first-generation Super Heavy booster, marking the end of one era and the beginning of the next. For anyone scrolling through clips online of the launch, it may have looked like the usual spectacular blast of fire and stainless steel. But behind the noise, this mission quietly checked off every major milestone that SpaceX needed to move forward. So let's quickly discuss what happened up there. First off, all 33 Raptor engines on the Super Heavy booster ignited perfectly, sending Starship roaring over the Gulf of Mexico. Next, the rocket performed a hot staging maneuver mid-flight, lighting the upper stage 6 engines while still attached to the booster, a delicate sequence that worked flawlessly. Then, after separation, the booster executed its boost back burn, reigniting 12 of its 13 planned engines, guiding itself back toward the pre-planned splashdown zone off the Texas coast. Then for the first time, all 13 engines lit up during the final landing burn, hovering just above the water before performing a controlled splashdown, a maneuver that will later allow SpaceX's Machazilla tower to catch future boosters mid-air. Their Starship upper stage then continued to orbit, deploying 8 Starlink simulators and successfully relighting one of its Raptor engines in space, a crucial capability for future missions to deorbit, refuel, or head to the Moon and Mars. Then finally, Starship endured a full-speed atmospheric re-entry, intentionally pushing its heat shield to the limit to gather thermal data, before performing its landing flip and executing a soft splashdown in the ocean. Now this is awesome, but what does it mean for humanity? Whenever a new SpaceX rocket launches, the same question always pops up. Why spend billions going to space when there are still so many problems here on our own planet? It's a fair question, but it misses the bigger picture in my opinion. The story of space exploration is not just about leaving Earth, but also about understanding it better, improving it, and protecting it. Every breakthrough that makes rockets more efficient, materials more heat resistant, or engines more powerful eventually trickles down back into the world that we live in now. Reusable rocket engines accelerate clean propulsion tech. Heat shield innovation influences material science and construction. Satellite constellations like Starlink bring internet to the most remote parts of the planet, connected communities and schools that were never online before. And the data collected from space, weather, climate, resource mapping, directly helps us tackle the very problems people fear we are ignoring. Elon Musk's goal of making life multi-planetary often sounds like science fiction, but in reality, it's a system problem. Not only it's about rockets, but how do you build a civilization that can sustain itself without an external supply chain? How do you recycle every drop of water, every gram of oxygen, and every piece of waste? How do you generate power and food in an environment where nothing grows? To make life sustainable on Mars, you first have to solve sustainability on Earth. That means breakthroughs in portable energy, closed-loop water systems, recyclable materials, and food production. All technologies that will benefit our planet long before they will ever leave it. SpaceX's engineering challenge to sustain life on another world is, in many ways, the ultimate sustainability experiment for our own world. If SpaceX can figure out how to grow food on Mars, we will have no excuse for hunger on our planet any longer. So let me leave you with some closing thoughts. As I said in the beginning, space excites me. The massive unknown that awaits us and the incredible opportunities it could unlock. Oh, and yes, I also believe we're not alone in this vast universe, but that might be a story for another day. The SpaceX story shows us what humans are capable of when vision meets persistence. It's absolutely mind-blowing if you ask me. And yes, Elon Musk has been criticized heavily for his recent turn into politics, but that doesn't take away from the fact that what he's building with SpaceX is extraordinary. This company is single-handedly conducting more space flights, both commercial and experimental, than any country on Earth. And in doing so, they have pushed innovation in aerospace further in 2 decades than the rest of the industry did in almost 50. For that, I salute them. Would I one day want to fly to Mars? Absolutely. And the crazy part is that it might actually happen in our lifetime. And I cannot wait to see that become a reality. That was it for this week. I hope you enjoyed this slightly different deep dive into maybe a company that you wouldn't immediately think of when you subscribe to my channel. But then again, like I said in the beginning, I love innovation. I love all the new cool stuff that is out there. And I would like to bring you the coolest things there are. So SpaceX is definitely one of those. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do let a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform or YouTube and send it to one of your friends or colleagues if you think it will intrigue them as well. This is it for this week. Don't forget to subscribe and hopefully see you again next week. My name is Frans Jacobs, Ben of Insiders Podcast, and hopefully see you soon. Peace.